So we'll call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Slipsma is absent and excused. Hoeksema present. Kester
Present.
Aaron's excused. Milnick.
Here.
So we do have a quorum. And I will gladly turn over the lead if either of you would like it. I think that we have to actually agree that that I would run the meeting in the absence of the supervisor. Is it a vote?
I think
Yeah.
just as I was filming the guys here.
Can just take over. That's a little different. Yeah.
I will make a motion to have Wendy Hoeksema, clerk, lead the meeting tonight.
And I will second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Nope. So setting, adjusting, and approving the meeting agenda. So we have the fire department asking for an agenda item for surplus equipment, and we'll add that to new business on number 4. Then I also have 2 items to add to correspondence. Volmuth's STR and Beam ZBA. Does anybody else have anything they want to change or adjust for the agenda?
The correspondence.
Yeah, I'm adding it to correspondence, yeah. Those were last minute ads.
I did not see, what was the first one you said? Zolden?
Volmuth
Oh, Voluth?
and
See
STR.
hers? Was it an email?
Yes. Adding anything, adjusting?
No.
No? Okay. Need to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So move.
All those in favor?
No,
I'm
second.
sorry.
You second.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Sorry. She's second.
I'll second. I thought Wendy did.
I didn't.
That's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any declaration of conflict of interest of anything on the agenda today?
None.
Nope.
Nope. That brings us to our first public comment, and we'll give 5 minutes at the lectern.
I'm gonna tell you, look here.
Here, I filled my
I
card
know
out.
for you.
Heidi Valmuth, 8388 Winnie Lane, private citizen. I got this postcard in the mail, and I have a few questions because, yep, came from us. If I were to look at this as a common citizen not paying attention, I would want to know why and what really is going on. And that really doesn't explain that in this postcard, because for some reason, when short-term rentals come up anywhere in this community, we either tap dance around it and we never say it's a commercial business and it's not allowed in a house, because everything has to be defined. So I know that when I've been involved in surveys and I've had to send out postcards, that I needed to define exactly what I'm doing. Excellent that you're letting people talk on Zoom. That's fantastic. But if they're on Zoom now, they can't talk to you. That's interesting. At this point, it's too late. It's in the mailbox. And when I asked another question about what the agenda was or anything. I guess that's up to the ROWG at their meeting on the 14th. Well, I'm getting a little concerned because it takes more than 6 days to do this stuff. So I really hope that somebody got the checklist out that's available and is checking off the list, because having it at the school isn't as easy as having it anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want a public comment? Public comment? Okay. Moving on. We have no public hearing. We'll move next to reports. So the resident outreach work group. Randy.
So we asked to have this on the agenda so we could draw attention to this event that is happening on January 21st at 7 o'clock at Mill Creek School. This is a event that is going to be essentially conducted by Michigan State. There are 2 people from Michigan State that will be leading this workshop. It is one of the first efforts from the ROWG to build and identify consensus about short-term rentals in the community. It doesn't have any preconceived ideas about how people feel or how they feel about short-term rentals. It is going to be, I think, as I understand it, a beginning presentation, which is about the factual elements of short-term rentals, followed by some group work, which includes the conversations about short-term rentals, questions that each group will answer. There was a decision made to include Zoom so that people who are not around at this time of year would have an opportunity to see the event and participate. Exactly how that participation happens is being worked on currently, because we don't know how many people will join and so forth, but trying to make this as open a process as possible. Results will be available from this workshop. The comments that are made by people attending will be recorded, much the same way as they were when the master plan workshops were done. You remember, some of you might have been there and heard how we had things put on the walls. There were all the comments, everything that people are going to contribute will be recorded and used as a basis for future steps. So essentially, that's what we're doing here, and it is not at the end of the efforts, I don't believe, from the ROWG. I'm not going to those meetings myself. I'm getting information afterwards about their tracking and progress. So.
I've had a couple of people ask about kind of what the process is of this group. Do you know, is it going to be like the Planning Commission where there's roundtables and discussion, like small group discussions, or is there public speaking? I mean, what is?
I think the original, as I understand it, the original, it'll begin with a presentation that will be more fact-based about short-term rentals in Michigan, and then the challenges a lot of local governments face, followed by a time of question and answer to the folks from Michigan State. And then following that, then breaking into groups to address key questions that each of the groups would have to respond to. And then the comments from the groups are then recorded and put on posters so people can then see what all the groups contributed.
Okay, great, thank you.
Moving on. The MMR report is in our packet. And then moving to the consent calendar. Does anybody want to take anything off of that? Or you can make a motion to receive and file.
I will make a motion to receive and file the consent calendar.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carried. Unfinished business. We don't have any park or recreation items. Moving on to new business, we have a consideration of an intern from CMU for the Whitewater Township Park or Campground in the next coming season, and Chief Morgan's going to give a little presentation about that.
Yeah, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for that one. So just a little background as to why the fire chief put this together, just for the public that's listening and anybody that is curious. Is my background, my degree is I have a bachelor's in Parks and Rec Administration from CMU. So I did my internship with the program. I'm still very close to the program and the professors that run it. So in one weekend that I was spending time with the director of the department, we were talking about the park and things, and he brought up the internship. And so got information from them, and then I took their packet and turned it into an internship for us. So what it is it's a 2-semester internship that the student is getting college credit for. It's like 30 credit hours for them. And it can be paid, it can be unpaid. It really depends on what the township wants to do. The intent and the reason we're trying to move this now is because all the interns are picking their host sites at this current moment. And so we want to get the internship on the board. It doesn't mean we have to hire an intern. It's just, it starts that option of getting students to come to us to say, hey, we'd like to work at Whitewater Township Park. To put into context, the National Cherry Festival always brings in 2 or 3 CMU RPL interns. A couple of the wineries have brought in CMU interns for events. So, when you think about the challenges that the internship could possess, which is housing for an intern, a lot of times these interns are, the program's small. There's not a ton of people that are in the classes, so everybody. You might have 3 or 4 or 5 of them moving to Traverse City. So I'm not worried about housing because they might all live together or with a friend. So housing shouldn't be something that hangs us up, but I think it's a really great opportunity. Then it allows our park rangers and our leads to focus on other aspects of the park. The intern can do things like put together a SOP document or a manual for the park, which is, for what I'm hearing from my firefighter who works for the park and other park people, is lacking, or just really any project. So that's why I included a potential capstone project that they could work on. My vision and my thought, and even though can't be mine, but what I'd love to see is that this is a yearly thing, that one intern leads into the next intern, which leads into the next intern, which keeps us moving currently with what the current trends are in the industry. So that's kind of why I put it together, and I wanted to get it out fast just so we can get it posted and see if there's any interest at all. And if there's not, we tried. So
basically, you're just asking for board consensus today.
board consensus to submit it to the RPL
It
department.
kind of sounds like the CMU program or any park program needs more places to do internships at.
Yep.
How does a 2-semester thing work with it just being kind of a summer operation? How does that work for them?
So it would be where I think the board would have to work with the park and make that decision of how, what kind of stuff do they need to work on preseason and then postseason. There's a lot of work on both ends of the park, especially if they take on some of those projects like a manual development or planning events, because that's nice to be able to do that in the off seasons, and then you don't have to worry about it during the season. So
I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah, I do
Agreed.
too. So this is more project-oriented in terms of what
they would still
do?
be working. They would be a park ranger. They would still be doing daily park duties, but also there's an aspect, and I will send this out to the whole board. There is a packet that CMU sent. I didn't get around to sending it out. That kind of outlines what their responsibilities are during the semester, and you have to kind of have your hand in some of the HR and some of the financial aspect, and you're supposed to, if you're working for a municipality, go to a board meeting and participate in the local government. So they have expectations, and we just have to make sure we're checking the boxes as we're going through. So
Is there a requirement for what, are they sophomore, junior, graduate, or?
it's typically going into your senior year. It's just typically your last. And when I did mine, when I finished my internship, I graduated shortly thereafter. So I'm not doing it before. It's right up until graduation. So, and like Linda and I have talked about this is, maybe we could find our next person that's going to run the park through this internship, or we could find that diamond in the rough through this. So
I think you have consensus.
Yeah, I think this is great. So you have requested action here to, go ahead and read the motion. Is that what you need?
yeah.
I move to approve authorizing the fire chief to submit a 2026 Whitewater Township Park Opportunity to Central Michigan University.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passed. So the next thing is also Chief Morgan. Consideration of a general ordinance number 64, a non-resident cost recovery and related fee schedule.
Yeah, so I put together a little PowerPoint for this one just because it is such a larger topic. So what I'm doing tonight is asking for board support for a non-resident cost recovery ordinance. The goal is straightforward, is to protect our township residents from costs incurred through incidents that involve non-township residents, be it car accidents. So the legal authority that is given is under Public Act 33. It explicitly allows municipalities to recover fire suppression costs and rescue and emergency services costs. What the intent of Ordinance 64 is to be cost neutral. We're not trying to make a profit, and it's to align with our existing fire prevention ordinance as well. So what it does is it allows the recovery of actual and reasonable cost. I can't just tack on an arbitrary cost that it has to be broken down. This is what it costs. It can only apply to incidents within Whitewater Township. I know I've fielded a few questions about, what if we do a mutual aid into Kalkaska for like that ice rescue? Those are not going to be charged because those are part of mutual aid agreements we have with outside jurisdictions, or if we go into Metro's territory or Fife Lakes, we won't be charging those. This is only going to apply to the incidents within Whitewater Township. The ordinance establishes who can be billed, what incidents are billable, how the billing appeals is going to work. So the biggest part of this is township residents and township property owners will not be billed. The only time a resident could potentially be billed through this ordinance is if, let's use this for an example, you're driving a motor vehicle intoxicated and you get into a car crash and you're found at that moment to be at fault by law enforcement because you were arrested and we had a large response to that call, we will bill your insurance. And the caveat to this too is I'm not going to be billing individuals. So say you come up here from downstate, I'm not going to be sending a bill to Jane Doe in Metro Detroit. I'm billing insurance carriers. I don't want to get into the game of trying to recover money from individuals. We're going to be going after insurance carriers. So like I was just talking about, legal operation is involved if a township ordinance violation. And if you look at our township ordinances, there's not many ordinances which would require a fire department response. So you're not going to see many of those. And a tax exempt entity receives the direct benefit. So if we have a tax exempt entity in the township and they receive a direct benefit from the fire department, we can charge. And it's not a resident service fee. I want to keep pushing that point. So here's a couple examples. We've got motor vehicle crashes, repeated false alarms after notice. That is one of those that falls under an ordinance issue. So say we go to the Shell gas station, for example. We've went there 4 or 5 times for fire alarms. After the 5th time, we could actually charge them to try to get it corrected. If we ever had assisted living facilities in the township, we could bill for lift assists if they were licensed. So routine residential fires, EMS calls, they're not the target. We do have a fee schedule built in that will get approved yearly through resolutions. It's personnel. It is the exact rate at which my response wage is. Apparatus were broke down by a cost of pretty much taking into account liability insurance, maintenance, depreciation, fuel, and all of the overhead that costs to run that truck. And we broke that down into an hourly rate. And then we brought in EMS and fire consumables. Just to give an example, we had a semi-accident on the corner of 72 and Elk Lake a couple months ago, and we used up every single bag of oil dry we had. And to replace and replenish all of that was upwards of $500 of oil dry to get that truck refilled. In an incident like that, that is where I would have billed the insurance carrier of that truck, and we would have recouped the cost to purchase those supplies. We are not the only township doing this. We are probably the only township that is not doing this in Grand Traverse County. I built mine around 3 or 4 different municipalities around the state that were very comparable to us, and that is where I got my data. We may use a third-party billing service to administer this, just because it takes a little bit of the legwork out. There's 2 or 3 companies out there that this is what they do for a living. We go into their portal, we submit the documents, they go after the insurance carrier, and they will recover most of the time. Appeals will be through me as the fire chief. If somebody is having a hardship and they can't pay, we'll have that conversation. And my intent is to not make this difficult on the consumer. It's to, have a heart and understand that things happen. But if, I don't approve it and they want to do a final appeal, it would then come to the board. So that's just the process. They come to me in writing. If I approve it or don't approve it, then if I don't approve it, then they can come to the board and state their case. But since we're just going after the insurance carriers, we're probably never going to end up having to go after an appeal because we're not going after the individual. So it's not going to generate a profit. It's not replacing any of our taxes or millages. We're not going to be billing township residents. And just as another example, so say you have family in town and your family gets into a car accident, and I'm getting information and I realize that you're a relative of a township resident. That's where I have the discretion of saying, by proxy, I'm not going to charge this insurance company because this bill's only going to be $700. Like, there's going to be that ability to make judgments based on the situation. Because, again, I don't want, by proxy, people that are up here visiting the relatives that live in the township, they're by proxy still township residents in my mind. So a little bit of, there's going to be some give and take there. Don't want it to interfere with our mutual aid agreements. And it doesn't override tribal land jurisdiction. So we still can't, this won't allow us to charge the tribe, but what it can do and gives us the ability to do is individuals that are visiting on tribal property, we can start potentially billing their insurance. So it's a cost recovery tool. So what I'm looking for is approving, so the board is going to have the ability to approve and adjust the fee schedule every year. So the intent is as we start using this program and we start seeing the costs that we're recovering, that every year we can adjust the fee schedule based on the data that we're provided and we're getting. You guys have hearing, final administration appeals, and then reviewing the impacts annually. The goal of this is to protect township residents because my anecdotal data is showing me that a lot of the responses that we go to on M72 as car accidents that take up significant resources and significant time are non-township residents. And we have a lot of money going out the door, and that we're subsidizing, the township residents are subsidizing that. And so what I'm trying to do is hopefully get that money back and be able to put it to better use through equipment or just providing a better service for our township residents. So what I'm looking for is support for the ordinance. If you guys have any questions, I can field those, but.
Do you have any kind of data, like what you said, a large percentage are from out of town? What
I don't right
percent
now because we're not capturing insurance information because we don't bill. And so I'm not gathering insurance information and driver's license information. I'm just getting name and date of birth. So the benefit of this, we'll be able to track it and see, and then, we can revisit it in a year and say, is this working? Are we recovering anything? Is this just a waste of time?
If you had to guess, what would you?
I'd say 60-40.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the last, 2 months of just knowing who I've responded, like the calls that I've responded on to car accident wise.
Okay. And then which way are you leaning towards using the third-party billing? And we were talking about that earlier too, but you maybe want to explain that to
Yeah,
the
so
rest of them, what that
so
would-
there's a third party billing company out there called Cost Recovery Incorporated. Like that's what they do. I had sent them our ordinance. They reviewed it. They said it looked good. They have a minimum $600. Like if it's less than $600 to recover, they don't deal with it. So we would, through our policy, we would enact like it has to be once we put it together. If it's less than $600, we don't bill. If it's more than $600, we'll bill. They have almost, I think it was like a 90% recovery rate for getting money from insurance agencies. Elmira Township uses this company. And Elmira Township is, if you're comparing apples to apples, Elmira Township is the same brand of apple. Like it is almost identical to us. And they had a semi-truck accident and they claimed and they received a check for $6,000 from insurance companies for an accident they went on. So
Because that's how much it costs for that accident.
That's
not
how much-
because you're trying to make money.
yeah,
off
they're not
it.
trying to make money,
Right.
but that's what the actual cost of that call was.
And would it be an either or situation, like you either hire the third party company and they're the only ones that do it, or would you just give them the ones that are over 600 and you or somebody on your team would follow up with the ones under 600?
From my conversations with Elmira Township and from my conversations with the company is that if you don't have a third party company doing it, insurance companies are going to kind of just be like,
Nope.
because they know that you're not going to
Follow up.
follow up or you're not going to spend the legal legwork to get them to follow through. And insurance companies know that this company is going to follow up and get the money. So, and like I said, this isn't, the goal isn't to make money. The goal is to help alleviate the burden that our taxpayers get from having the thoroughfare into Traverse City. And so like, and yeah, that's really what the intent is. And for the people that are up here in the summer, because, you know, we go out on the TART trail all the time for incidents and a lot of those people those are long duration events where we could be gone for a couple hours. So just looking to recover a little bit.
Couple questions, if you're done, Jill. So the third party is being relied on to administer this. What cost do they get?
They just take a percentage.
What, do you know what that percentage
I don't know what that percentage is off the top of my head. He didn't include that in his email, did he?
22?
22%.
So if the bill's $1,000, they get $222 to
Yep.
run.
And then we'll cover the
And then you're
rest.
supplying all the information to them as
Yep.
far as, so when you're on a call and it's at the end of it, and so there's paperwork or something that you're accumulating that's defining whether or not they're.
Yep. So the new software that we actually just switched to, First Due, allows us to capture all of that information. And so then I can run a report after that call that has all that information. And then I go into that, whatever company we hire, or if we do it ourselves, I go into a portal and enter all that information in and submit it. So, but, and we, you know, I wrote a policy and I can hand it out, but like it'll get approved next board meeting when I bring all my administration policies here. I have an admin policy for this cost recovery ordinance that spells out what the requirements of the team are when they're on a call and what information has to be collected. So,
I guess the only thing that was concerning to me in this whole thing is the issue of family and where exactly the lines start and stop on that. And that's probably, I mean, are we talking about immediate family? Are we talking about cousins? Are we talking about, you know, I guess where does that?
yeah, and that could be a simple policy adjustment. Like it's not, the ordinance doesn't specify. The ordinance, it pretty much just states non-township resident. Obviously need to talk to legal before I do any of those things, but if we can include that in policy and then what our procedures are from the fire department standpoint, then we'd include that. But if we can't, then I guess everybody gets charged and
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I guess it'd be good to nail that down somewhat, I
Yep.
think, in one way or another, and
But
also
the-
here in the ordinance.
The ordinance itself, as written, I think is what I want to lean heavy on. I don't really want to change any of that because that's already been vetted by legal. And they've
Oh, this
reviewed it.
has been reviewed by
Yep,
legal?
has been reviewed by legal and
Are legal, or?
are legal. Yep. So it's been reviewed by legal and submitted back with adjustments. And the copy that you guys have is the copy with adjustments. So
I guess the other point that I would make is that I see the definition of non-resident includes either live or own property in the township. Does not live, or, I mean, if you own property, you're the same as a resident, right?
yep.
So you might have property here, but live somewhere else and in the process of building or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Any more questions?
That's all I have.
I think it's safe to assume you'll probably lean towards using the third party. Does that need to be in the resolution, or when do we decide that? And what, what's,
We'll decide that because it'll be a contract. So we'll have to vote on the contract
In the future?
in the future at a meeting to do that.
You were also planning on doing some fire department policies in the future as well,
Yep.
so we'll see that again. I motion to approve and adopt ordinance 64 entitled Whitewater Township Fire Department Cost Recovery Ordinance as presented, and to direct the township clerk to publish the ordinance as required by law. Ordinance will take effect upon the publication of 20 days following its final adoption in accordance with applicable Michigan law. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Think we need to do a roll call vote for that. Milnick,
Yes.
Kester,
Yes.
Hoeksema, yes. This ordinance is adopted. I think we should read this 2026-01 resolution. Would you like to do that?
Yeah. So do I have to read the entire thing?
Yes.
Oh man, should have made it shorter. You didn't tell me I was gonna have to read the whole thing. So a resolution to adopt an emergency services fee schedule, whereas the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees has adopted Ordinance 64, the Fire Department Cost Recovery Ordinance pursuant to Authority of Public Act 33 of 1951, providing for the recovery of actual and reasonable cost of fire and emergency services, and whereas Ordinance 64 authorizes the Township Board to establish and amend by resolution a schedule of fees for specific emergency, non-emergency services provided by the Whitewater Township Fire Department. And whereas the Township Board desires to adopt a schedule reflecting the current actual cost of personnel, apparatus, and equipment consistent with NFPA 1720 and 1730, Michigan law, and comparable regional departments. Now therefore be it resolved, the Whitewater Township Board hereby adopts the following Whitewater Township Fire Department cost recovery schedule effective, I have January 1st, but upon adoption, subject to periodic review and adjustment for further resolution. Do you want me to read do I need to read the whole fee schedule?
Just hit the highlights.
All right, so for personnel, clarification is, so for firefighter, lieutenant, assistant chief is at $31.80 an hour. That is our hourly rate. And the fire chief is based on the annual salary, so currently $36 an hour. Apparatus, the engine is $325 an hour. The tanker is $250 an hour. The brush truck is $200. Our UTV is $150. The boat is $175. Our snowmobile is $125, and the chief ride is $150. EMS and fire consumables, basic EMS package per patient is $100. Advanced airway is $250. Foam is $45 a gallon. Absorbent materials is $25 a bag. And small equipment or hose replacement is at actual replacement cost. PPE and specialized equipment, gloves, hoods, helmets, turnout gear, SCBA is actual replacement cost. Ice and water rescue suit is $650 each. Rope and high angle equipment is $300 each. Extrication tools, meters, ticks, fans, airbags are at replacement cost if damaged. Utility company support, down power lines and gas leak standby, first hour is at no charge. Each additional hour per apparatus is $250 plus personnel rate. Fire watch, standard rates apply pursuant to our fire prevention ordinance. Special standby event, per event is the standard rates apply as above. Lift assist, $250. First response services, BLS response is $300, ALS is $500, which we don't have ALS, so that's just there just for the future. Treat no transport is $200, and then standby for events for EMS is $150. And there's a, if applicable, ambulance service, but we don't have our own ambulance service, but that's just in there for the future if need be. So the township board may apply annual cost of living adjustments to the above rates unless superseded by a revised cost of service study. Publication, the fee schedule shall be published to the township website and made available for public inspection in the township office. Be it further resolved that all prior motions and resolutions in conflict with this resolution are hereby rescinded, so adopted. That's everything that's on there.
I motion to approve and adopt Resolution 2026-01 entitled Emergency Services Fee Schedule as presented, establishing the Whitewater Township Fire Department Cost Recovery Fee Schedule for applicable emergency services, and to direct the township clerk to publish or post this resolution as required by law and township practice. It will take effect upon publication or posting 20 days following its adoption as permitted by Michigan law and township policy.
I second.
We need a roll call vote. Kester,
Yes.
Milnick,
Yes.
Hoeksema, yes. Resolution is adopted.
And there will be a FAQ for the non-township resident. I have a FAQ that's right. It's in the packet. That will be available on the website as well. So we'll get that uploaded, and we'll have it pinned to our Facebook as well. So
All right, moving on. We're doing good today. Consideration of an acceptance of a grant from, it says Elk Rapids Lions Club, but I'm not sure that's right. Vicki, can you tell us more about that? Is it the Lions Club or was it the Rotary?
It was the Lions Club.
Oh, okay, good.
And Shirley Hill is the president of that. And I did speak to her yesterday. They would like some recognition for this grant to the township park. And so they would like to have a photo shoot.
Oh, nice.
So Monday, I think she said Mondays and Tuesdays did not work for her very well. But she would like a little bit notice and would like to present it here at Township Hall.
Okay, we can always get with her. All right. Can you tell us a little bit about what this grant's for and why and all that?
This grant was for benefit of the community, and it wasn't a real big grant. So we've had to replace at least half of our chairs. Well, we haven't replaced them, but they're falling apart, cracking, breaking, and unstable. So we really don't have good chairs at the water's edge at the park. So I thought, what a perfect opportunity. Talked to Shirley Hill, and she thought that was very appropriate. And Tom Bartnicki came up with the idea of some cornhole games to replace in the volleyball area that's not used for volleyball. So we got approved for $200 more than what we asked for.
Nice.
Thank you for taking the initiative to do this.
Yes, thank you. And if anybody else wants to buy any chairs, the more chairs that are bought, the better the price becomes. So it can be a separate transaction, but one big conglomerate
So you could get more
thing.
chairs for our money. Yeah.
Yep,
What is the chair?
about $350. They're that polywood, maintenance-free.
All right. Well, I move that we accept the grant for $2,500 from the Elk Rapids Lions Club to the Whitewater Township Campground, and that the clerk's office send a letter of appreciation to the Lions Club and to Vicki Emerson. And then I will also get with Shirley as well to try to schedule something for all of us to be a photo shoot. But I do need a second as well.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next up is the fire department's ad of surplus. So Josh, you're up again.
Yeah, so this is just a quick clarification of our approval for surplus back a couple months ago. When we did our actions to declare our air truck surplus, we didn't give the method of how we were going to sell it or the price that we were going to fix on it. And according to section 4.6D of the Township Policy Manual, the board must, when we're declaring surplus, say how we're going to sell it. So my first motion is to authorize the sale of the surplus of the Kodiak 5500 air truck with integrated cascade through a recognized public auction platform or by a direct negotiated sale at a price deemed to be reflected of a fair market value. The reason I have that in there is because I'm going to be getting it appraised. And so once we get it appraised, then I'll be able to put a list price on an auction site, which will have a minimum. So we may get more for it, but we can't get less than our bid price. And then the second one is for the Kubota. We declared that surplus when we bought our first one, or our new one. And I went up to Ginups today and we went over the last, I think we went through 20 different sales, used sales of the same RTV within a 4 or 5 year window of the age of ours that we had. And his recommendation was to sell it for $10,500 or best offer. That is kind of the going market rate for used Kubotas at the current moment. With the low miles, like they were selling 2,000 hour Kubotas for $9,000. Ours has 311 hours on it. So
What year is it?
an 04.
This is like a side-by-side, isn't it?
It's side by side. So
But
just,
you don't have any idea how much the air truck is worth?
I don't at the current moment. It's because our air truck is such a unique piece of equipment. There is not another one like it for sale on any of the auction sites. So it's going to take somebody to come in and appraise it.
What do you mean by air truck? What is
So
it?
it is a Kodiak. So it's a Chevy 5500. It's a Kodiak. It's got a box on the back. In it, it's got 4 6,000 PSI bottles. It's got an air compressor that refills those 6,000 PSI bottles, but then has a system inside of it that we put our SCBA bottles in to refill those. The issue, and this is why I brought it up a couple months ago, is that truck sits in our apparatus bay, and it barely goes out on runs. It's been on a fire this month in Kingsley, but it goes there at the very, very end. We refill the bottles of all of these departments who have cascade systems back in their station, and then they go home because they're done and they don't have to do it, and we end up paying personnel to go to these calls and to refill bottles that they could have done it. So it's kind of an asset that, while it's a nicety, it's not a necessity. We could buy an in-house cascade system and do it in-house and free up an apparatus bay in our building and take away maintenance costs on a truck, insurance costs on a truck.
So it's not something you absolutely have to have on scene.
Nope, because we have agreements with Elk Rapids and surrounding departments if we have to fill air bottles in the meantime.
Right.
Okay.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the sale of the previously declared surplus 2026 or 2006 Kodiak 5500 air truck with integrated cascade and compressor system, either through recognized public auction platform or by direct negotiated sale at a price deemed to reflect the fair market value, with final sale documentation returned to the township clerk.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried. Anybody want to do the next one?
I'll make a motion to authorize the sale of the previously declared surplus Kubota RTV 900 by negotiated sale with a listing price of $10,500 or best offer, based on market recommendations from Ginup Sales and Service, with final sale documentation returned to the township clerk.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Hey, Josh, I'm just curious, what is the mileage on the truck? You know?
The exact mileage. I think it's about 23,000 miles.
Okay.
But once I'll let you know once I pull it up.
So moving on, the no tabled agendas and for board comments or discussion of anything that's on this agenda. So I guess that would be a good time to ask Josh about the miles. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Cool.
Announcements, moving on then. Announcements, we have January 20th is a special meeting at the Township Hall here for a public hearing for the Parks and Recreation 5-year plan at 7 p.m. There's the January 21st, 2026 Resident Outreach Work Group Short-Term Rental Community Workshop that we talked about earlier at Mill Creek Academy at 7 p.m. And then our next regular board meeting, January 22nd, here at the Township Hall at 9 a.m. And then moving on to the second public comment. We're on fire today.
No, there's no.
Nope.
Do you need another card filled out? Okay. It's difficult for me to stand up here and do this, but here it goes. Open government depends on open communication, and because I'm concerned about the accountability and the leadership in our township, I will continue. Public meetings exist so residents can be heard, so they can hear, you can hear them, and we can figure out different problems, possibly. Good solutions come from it. When public input is limited, muted, or reduced to one-way communication, especially in virtual meetings, the voice of the people is weakened. They feel left out, like, hey, we don't count. Residents become passive observers instead of active participants in decisions that affect all of our lives. They become distant and give up. Virtual meetings were meant to expand access and not restrict. Look how we're using it. Public hearings, workshops, etc. Look at the solutions and what's been accomplished with some of them. It's kind of amazing. Technology should make it easier for people to participate, ask questions, and raise concerns. When meaningful dialogue is blocked, transparency suffers, and you lose the trust of the public. Okay. True leadership welcomes questions, even if they're uncomfortable. You all have an ethics policy. Have you signed it? I'll have to FOIA that to find that information out. But it's in your little book of rules from the MTA, page 97 if you're the treasurer. This is not personal. It's about accountability. I wrote a complaint quite a while ago, and the treasurer paid the civil infraction fine in Acme Township. It was regarding a short-term rental. I really need you to read page 97 about ethics in your treasurer's book. Court cases are there. The conflict of interest does now exist. There's other issues concerning that office, but at this time I'll have to do some FOIAing. You did pay for another audit. I'll be curious to see what that details. I'm really asking you at this point, since you seem to think you don't have a conflict of interest in short-term rentals, yet you keep doing it in places. People are in problems paying their taxes, doing their taxes, coming here and seeing you and paying their taxes. That is a big concern. You might want to think that maybe this job's not for you. I really need you to read page 97, and at this time, I think that you might want to consider another form of employment. And like I said, this isn't personal, But if you can't follow the laws in one township, how are you following them here? And how are you going to make new ones here? It's a misdemeanor. It is concerning, but you might want to look that up too.
Thank you. Anybody else have any public comment?
Vicki Emerson, resident, Whitewater Township. I just, with the 5-year park plan coming up soon, I just want to bring up Park Road. I'm hearing a lot of complaints from campers, boaters, and people who are just coming to the park to walk. They don't like coming down that road. And I know because I've lived in this township all my life that back in '85, I was led to believe that that road would see an improvement in the form of paving. I'm not asking to have the road paved, but I would like to look at how it's graded so that the water has a place to run off the road. It gets very muddy, it gets very dusty. Some kind of maintenance short of paving. I realize that's incredibly expensive, and it is a highly traveled road. And with the type of traffic it gets, it just beats the road up. It's so bumpy, and it's just, you know, when I read in the Park and Rec's report, it said the road's in fair condition. I don't know what the definition of fair condition is, but that road, I would love to see some improvement. I don't have the answers, but I could find somebody with a bulldozer who will push those banks back. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Josh, for all that you've done for the park.
Thank you. And seeing no one else is here in the Township Hall, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:22 PM.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried.